gotta say, when you actually break it down, I'd argue a basic AVGN episode bears more resemblance to what we now think of as a Let's Play. The majority of nerd episodes, especially early on, focused on the process of playing the game rather than a history lesson or grand thesis about the game as a whole. You might think this makes the experience more shallow compared to other long-form videos, and maybe you're right, but I think it's a different type of appeal. The goal here is to simulate what it's like to play the game, and most of these early videos accomplish that goal. The early years of the AVGN went basically without much controversy or anything really worth talking about. That's not to say there was never any backlash or criticism or drama or anything like that. Dare I say the nerd has always had some form of criticism, but it was more generic. Stuff like people being upset when he moved to game trailers or Screw Attack, people upset about the sometimes slow upload rate, people upset that James was featuring more of his friends like Mike Matei or Kyle Justin on the show, and accusations that the series had jumped the shark or wasn't as good as it once was. But all of these complaints are, well, fairly standard. Like, it's the sort of thing any creator with a wide enough fan base and enough time is going to deal with. And more than that, they were generally very scattered opinions. Like, there wasn't a centralized moment of backlash or hub for anti-AVGN opinions or anything like that. So while it's worth noting, there's not much here worth going in depth about because a lot of it didn't go much deeper than, I don't like that he didn't properly review the Atari 5200 and stuff like that. If anything, this era for the nerd is more defined by the drama involving other people rather than James himself. Things like the nostalgia critic starting up and the publicized quote-quote feud that came from it and, well, the irate gamer, which is a long story. Basically, there was this guy named Chris Bors, who is actually my friend on Facebook for some reason, who decided to start off his own enraged video game review show called The Irate Gamer. Beyond the premise being similar to AVGN, Bors also directly lifted jokes from AVGN episodes and would sometimes cover the exact same games. This was a whole big piece of drama because if there's one thing the internet always universally hates, it's plagiarism. And why yes, this is foreshadowing. Anyway, Chris emailed James to say that he was a big fan and that he might have accidentally used some of James's jokes in his videos. Said email will be leaked online, which only fueled the rivalry between the two creators' fan base even more. Additional stuff happened that honestly could take up its whole own video, but by now Bors has seemingly settled into his own corner of the internet, and he and James have settled whatever beef there might have been between them, with James actually guest starring as the nerd in an Irate Gamer episode. But besides that, Cinemassacre was running mainly drama and conflict-free. The success of AVGN led to James being able to do other projects, such as his horror movie marathon series, Monster Madness, his short-form rant series, You Know It's Bullshit, and his board game narrative review series, Board James, which is, in my opinion, the best thing James has ever done. If I had to define the first moment where things started to change, though, it would have to be the angry video gamer movie. James Rolfe always had ambitions of being a filmmaker. It was what he set out to do. It's what he went to school for. So it only makes sense that as soon as the AVGN took off, he would begin trying to figure out a way to translate the nerd into the film format. I thought later the nerd would be a good way to realize his filmmaking dreams because it's easier to gain interest in a product that people are already interested in. The Angry Video Game Nerd movie was formally announced to the world in September of 2010. When James put out a video explaining that his slowed down video release schedule was because he was working on finally putting together the movie. After years and years of production, the AVGN movie finally came out in 2014. I won't spend too much time talking about the movie or the production of it for a variety of reasons. One, there's so much stuff about the production, promotion, release, and state of the finished film itself that one could easily spend an entire video focusing solely on it. Two, I want to keep this video focused primarily on ways in which the Cinemassacre brand as a whole has suffered backlash and the stepping stones that led there, meaning focusing primarily on the main channel and content that people have seen. But perhaps more importantly, three, I started watching the movie and disliked it so much that I couldn't finish it, and I decided that the only way I would devote more of my time to it is if people actively paid me money for the purpose of getting me to do so. And by that I mean join my Patreon and message me saying do the AVGN movie, then I might consider it. It was just not something I could tolerate much of. I guess the main points that I want to get at here is that the movie was a big turning point, both in the audience and in James as a creator. Making a movie is a lot of hard work. It requires a lot of money, commitment, energy, and time. There were a lot of things done to make up for this. For example, since the usual Hollywood investors weren't willing to fund the film, James took to Indiegogo and crowdfunded it. This was actually surprisingly controversial at the time. Like, this was back in 2011, right as crowdfunding was beginning to catch on and other internet personalities were making movies, but they were like channel awesome anniversary films made with this basic equipment and virtually no budget. So there were some people wondering why James didn't just fund the movie himself and why he was relying on fans to do it. And the answer is because, like, he needed to. Movies cost a lot of money, and it's fine to crowdfund to help make them. Obviously, crowdfunding won the battle not just for James, but also just in our general culture. The AVGN movie managed to raise $325,000, way more than its initial goal of $75,000. But similar discourse would happen again when the film eventually came out, and unless you paid for it as part of the campaign, it cost $10 to rent on Vimeo. With discussions happening over whether or not James should have put it out for free, considering the AVGN is a free product, and also the fact that the film was fan-funded and should thus be accessible to be viewed by the fans. Once again, though, this basic basically died down because, like, yeah, it's fine to churn out. I know it's broken a little bit. I'm not going to say fully that that's the case because I don't know James. To my knowledge, he's never publicly spoken about this. But for what it's worth, future AVGN producer Justin Silverman stated that he also believes this to be true. And when you think about it, it does make sense. Making movies is tiring. The AVGN movie was a years-long process that took a lot of effort and a lot of stress and a lot of money. And the thing is that James wanted this to be a big break. He specifically decided to go to Hollywood to shoot it, even though it made the whole thing more challenging and more expensive than if he shot it literally anywhere else. He paid money to have it premiere at the Egyptian theater. He clearly put a lot of himself and his energy and passion into the film. It just didn't really pay off. The movie didn't receive the warmest reviews. It had popular screening events with fans, and there are some fans who like it, but that's it. It's just the fans. It didn't really garner any recognition or popularity or acclaim outside of people who were already familiar with him as the angry video game nerd, which makes sense because from what I watched, yeah, I can't really imagine anyone else but fans getting anything out of this movie. So I can imagine having his live stream become something that was either ignored or mocked by the general public was not that good of a feeling. That's not to say it's that simple. There's a good counter-argument to this is that James would go on to make some pretty good APG episodes and some top-tier board James episodes right after the movie's release. This wasn't as if he was fully creatively checked out, and another argument he made that his general demeanor shift around this time was more because this was also when he had his first kid, which changes a person's priorities, but we'll get into that later. I guess the point is that regardless of whether or not this whole movie burnout thing is true, it does mark a drastic turning point with the way James viewed the nerd, as well as the way James approached his creative presence and ambitions. But that's not really the full story.
Vendredi, je m'en vais me faire couper de pète.
So, during the period, James
Je pense que ça va faire du bien.
However, there was still a push for content to be put up there and for some extra programs to keep coming out. In order to do so, more control was given to James's previous partner to make content for the channel. And this is where we have to talk about Mike Matei. Mike Matei is a longtime friend of James Roll. The two met in college and maintained a close relationship, both as friends and also co-workers. Mike was an instrumental part in the early legacy of the AVGN movie. He was the one who originally convinced James to upload and produce more AVGN videos. He's the one who created the original James season of their channel. He did the title card artwork for the first one. If they were the character that appeared in the show, chances are